Hey, howdy, and welcome to version 1.2 of the Binding of Bejeweled. So this is going to be twofold. I'll talk about the more specials first, and then I'll talk about the coffee at the end. But let's start with the thing that's actually a bit more interesting and a little bit less housekeeping. So you might notice nothing's here right now, that's just because I have to reload it. Now it should work, my keybind's back set up. I am now in debug mode, isn't that cool? And there are 31 different pearls arranged down there, all 31 potential options. Now, one of them's missing, because with some of them I can sort of hand wave it away and say like, oh, it's not going to work very well right now, but in-game it'll be different. One of them actively sabotages the demonstration, so once I'm done with the other 31, I'll show off that last one. But for now, I'll show off the others, because I realize there's not really a resource around for showing what all these do. So, first, the fire. You right-click, and all of these are activated by right-click, by the way. You right-click, it clears a 3x3 area. The lightning, you right-click, and it clears up, down, left, right. The high pearl has a 50% chance to clear any of these pearls, so it clears roughly half the board. The pearl onion, I personally really like the art on this one, has one of the more interesting effects. When you use it, it turns all pearls of a certain color into a random other color. In this case, it chose red. The black pearl, or the curse of the black pearl, I should say, whenever you pick it up, it adds a 5% chance for black pearls to appear, which cannot be matched normally. However, if you use this, it'll destroy all black pearls on screen and grant bonus points. The fishing rod is next, and it's pretty simplistic right now, but actually I have plans to expand on it a little bit, but more on that later. Right now it just clears a column. And I also have it set up so that it gives more special bar than usual. Mother of Pearl is next, and Mother of Pearl is a very good, very efficient special. It fires off 3 3x3 explosions in random locations. Got kind of unlucky there. Next up, there's these three. Wildfire, I forget the names for these. It's like Wildfire, Supercell, and Superl High Pearl. Hardy har. These are direct upgrades to the stock 3 specials, and when you pick them up, they completely replace the original specials. So Wildfire clears a 5x5 area as opposed to a 3x3. Supercell also fires off in diagonals. And the Super High Pearl, instead of operating on a 50-50 chance, it's now a... Let me check, actually, because I think I was wrong last time I did this. It was a 75% chance. So actually really good. That's close to a full board clear. Next up is the Pearl of Wisdom, and this is kind of a funny one. When you use it, it will give you enough points to be within hair's length of fully clearing the level. I don't know why I messed up so much saying that sentence. So you can just match anything, that'll clear the level for you. Next up is the Quahog Pearl. Yes, that is Peter Griffin. And that's actually going to be the test subject for the special that gets in the way of everything else. What it does is whenever you use it, it'll grant a medium amount of points, and then it'll roll a 1 in 8 chance 4 times. If any of those 1 in 8 chances comes up correct, it'll add another Quahog Pearl to your inventory. And it plays farts, because of course it does. Next up is Pearls Before Swine. Kind of it's an esoteric expression. Something about... I don't remember the specifics. It's something about, like, don't give things in good faith to people who can't understand it. Kind of a bad expression because it was used as rationale for feudalism, to my understanding. But it can function as a generic fire attack, or if you match while you have it at the front of your inventory, it'll destroy it and give you a bunch of points. Next up is Pearl, and this is one of my favorites, but I was planning on making this a lot grander, like, I was thinking like, when you use it, when it comes to the front of your clip, it generates a regular expression, and you have to match that regular expression, and you get a ton of rewards if you manage to make it work. That was too complicated. So instead, what this does is, you might notice I have these all arranged in a rainbow. If you right-click on a row that has one of each color, it clears it and grants you a boatload of points. Next up is the Hymn of the Pearl. Very simple, you just use it, and it re-rolls the board. And 8 pearls ended up fleeing all the way to the back. There's a couple of pearls that do that, or there's a couple of specials that do that. I keep accidentally calling them pearls. This special in particular, if you have 8 copies of that particular special, it will instantly end the game. And because you have a max special clip size of 8, you just have to have a full clip, which is quite difficult. Next up is Pearl Jam, another one of the ones that doesn't really work to the full effect because I have more than 8 right now. When you use it, it gives you some points and also gives you up to 2 tokens. And these tokens you can use, they make small explosions at slightly random positions. They're not meant to be very good, they're meant to be expendable, but you get a couple of them. After that is Pearl Harbor. You use it, you'll hear a siren, and after that siren fires off 4 times, it will create a barrage, like so. Next up is Baroque Pearl. This is another one that generates things. When you use it, it will normally generate 2 basic specials. But again, I don't have the room for it, so it's not going to show. Now the Night Pearl, I have to be a bit quick on this one. Something's going to appear right here. Let's see if I did get lucky. So now, there is a 5% chance. 4, 3, there you are, there's another one. Hey, lucky me. 5% chance for all new pearls to be lightning pearls, which can stack up quickly. Next up is the Keshi Pearl, which, to be fair, Keshi pearls are not actually named after Japanese Kokeshi dolls, but that's the inspiration I ended up taking anyway. It's another pretty simple one. It's a fireball, but it has a 50% chance to add itself back to the end of your clip. And unfortunately it didn't. Next up is the Giga Pearl. You use it. Oh, come on. It cleared a 7x7 area. That's pretty good. Cave Pearls. This one is very similar to Pearl Jam, but it should never normally appear in your inventory. Normally, when it appears in the special bar, as soon as it's filled up, instead of adding itself, it'll add 3 tokens instead. And all of them generate special explosions. Next up is Blackberry Pearl. You use it, and it generates a marker. Anytime you use any special pointed at that spot, it will amplify its effect. Now, granted, for a lot of them, it's not going to do anything because a lot of these effects aren't really numerable. Like, you can't really boost their effects without, like, also saying, like, oh, it also gives you a point boost or something like that, so I didn't really bother. Next up is Tapioca Pearls, otherwise known as boba tea. You use it, and it chains up the row second from the top. And it actually prevents new stuff from coming down until you clear it. But if you manage to clear it, it gives you some bonus points. Let me spend some time clearing this out, because it is also quite satisfying. Next up is the Pearl Fisher's Dance by Bisei. It's the other Bisei work, not Carmen, but the other one. It makes a high pearl, identical effect to the high pearl special, but also surrounds it by inert black pearls that can't be matched, and more importantly, don't match with the high pearl. But if I lay it right here, high pearls also act as wild cards. So I place it here and it's able to match. And it clears half the board for me. Next up is I believe it's called the Kaustaba. It's the pearl necklace, it's named after the pearl necklace worn by Vishnu. And that's kind of like a crappy little pixel art rendition of Vishnu with the limitations. I think it turned out pretty well. Kind of looks like a Katamari cousin. But you use it. Oh, lucky me. It has a 50-50 chance to either be a random special or one of the 8 pearls. And it turned out to be one of the 8 pearls for me. Next up is kind of a crazy one. This is the Pearly Gates. You hear that noise? What it does is it locks the board, kind of like tapioca pearls, but there's no way to turn it off. The only way that it stops is either if the board is completely cleared or you run out of moves. And in this situation, running out of moves entails having nothing left in your special clip and also having no more than 2 of each color. So you can't make any matches and you also have no specials left. So there's no way to change the board state. Let me do all the work I can. That'll be good. And after that, there's a few more. Pearl Powder is a bit unique. Whenever it's added to your inventory, it adds up to 8 copies of itself. Enough that it takes to completely fill up the special clip. So if it's clear, it adds 8. And it's meant as a precision tool. It only clears 1, but that one that it clears is completely removed and doesn't trigger any of its own special effects. So any other effects that I want to add later, with like special flags applied to the pearl, are not affected. Next up is this, I gotta look up the name of this one again, pardon me. The Verhost Pearl Specimen. Logistic growth, basically. Whenever you make a match, this will copy itself, overwriting other specials if necessary. If all 8 of these slots get filled up with Verhost Pearl Specimens, then you instantly lose, so don't let that happen. The last one is the Pearl of Kasaba, and this will be a nice segue. It turns the pearl into a random pearl, and I got really lucky there. It turned it into a high pearl. So now, I trust in the 50-50. And it worked! That cleared every single pearl on the board, and like I said, it works. And it spawned 3 random pedestal items, exited out, and destroyed the ornate box. The game's now over, and I grab my reward. Even though it's a challenge, so the reward really means nothing. But at least I get the bragging rights. Anyway. Now getting on to... I want to show off that last pearl that I mentioned, and then I'll talk about the coffee thing. So, give me just a moment. Yeah, There you are. Had to comment something back in. There we are. Okay, I just have to reset this once or twice. There you are. So, this is the unlucky number that I had to stop from appearing for the demonstration. This is the imitation pearl. Actually very powerful in the right situation. What it does is, if you make a match, it shoves itself to the back of your clip. If you do it if you manage to trigger it, it'll take the second thing in your clip and turn everything else into a copy of it. So in this case, it's the Quahog Pearl. Everything is now Peter Griffin. Pretty cool. Frickin' sweet, if I say so myself. So now to talk about the coffee thing real quick. I have kind of been busting my butt on this, and I'm really proud of the work that I've done so far, and I have more stuff planned. But I kind of want to make it a little bit more interesting, and I also want to get some community involvement going. So, I've had this coffee for a bit, and how it's going to work from here on in is whenever I already have a backlog of things that I want to add. Whenever I get a donation through coffee, I'll add one more to that backlog. And maybe that bites me in the ass when I end up with hundreds of things in the backlog. Or maybe it adds nothing, who knows. It's the glory and the shame of community donations, I guess. But there's actual incentives. If you donate $5 or more, Coffee lets you specify things in the description of your donation. And what you can do is if you donate $5 or more, you can design something for me to add to the game. Now, granted, it has to be, safe for work. Can't be too freakishly complicated or outlandish, but you can go pretty ham on it. I have a lot of infrastructure built up, and if it's something a little more complicated, I might reach out to you on Steam or something and ask you to be a bit more specific. But it's all free reign, and if you donate $5 or more, you get your name inscribed, and you get whatever effect, description, name, whatever you want. But yeah. Hopefully that goes well. I'm curious how that's going to pan out. That's all I got for now, though. Thanks so much for watching.